What's up, guys? It's your boy Heretic You. It's been a while since I did one of these late night ramblings, but I ran into this pretty interesting article on Geek Dad, so I thought I would share my thoughts on it. It's called Games Workshop and Me on Representation. Oh, let me guess. It's going to be about a white guy who's going to tell us that we need more diversity in our games, of course. Is it a problem that there are very few people of color represented in Games Workshop games? Short answer, no. But obviously for every friggin' SJW, it's always a problem. What it really is, it always ignores, it always assumes the worst. It's kind of like Games Workshop is this company that only wants to, sell its shit to white guys. Take a look at the Games Workshop web store. How many languages do you see there? Games Workshop is obviously a global company. They sell to anyone. They don't care what your freaking gender is. They don't care what your race is. They just want you to buy their fucking overpriced and honestly, badly sculpted models. The other issue I have with this line of thinking is that if you leave your pasty white island and go to a Games Workshop in Mexico, you're going to see that the majority of people playing 40K are Mexicans. Or, if you go to Spain and you go to a Games Workshop, the majority of the people are going to be Spanish. It's not really an issue like here in Southern California. We've got a pretty good mix of different races here. So my gaming group, even though we don't play 40K anymore, is a mix of white, Asian, Mexican. You have it. It's not. You're ignoring the demographics part of this argument, and it's pretty simple when you think about it. Yeah, there's a lot of white dudes in England and the United States, and most of the Games Workshop stores are in those countries. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of white dudes playing the game. That doesn't mean that you can't just attribute malice to it. Like Games Workshop's like, man, we got to make sure them Asians don't be playing our game. Before I dig into this, I have to lay my cards on the table, or maybe my dice. I am a white middle class British male. Yep, fucking called it. I have never suffered through or not being represented. Okay, I can only therefore imagine what it must be like not to see yourself reflected in media or popular culture of the day. Yeah, it's really tough. I don't even know how I get up some mornings without being represented. I'm pretty sick of this argument, right? It's like, that people can enjoy things made by people of other races. I mean, that's pretty much how culture works, right? I mean, like anime. There are lots of white dudes, black dudes love anime, but it's made by Japanese, and most of the characters have Japanese names. Most of the stories take place in Japan. I've said this a million times. What makes this really interesting to me is like, okay, so going by your logic, right? You got, you got orcs, you got Necrons, you got Tau, you got Eldar, you got Tyranids. Then how does anyone relate or play those armies, right? How do I relate to being an orc, right? I mean, it's pretty dumb. People choose armies for the following reasons, right? It's either it's three primary things. It's the look of it, the rules, whether or not it can win, or a mixture of both. Those are your primary reasons. And race is just not a thing, man. It in 40K, even more so. The original question was posted in a Warhammer 40K 40K forum, but I think the answer applies to both 40K and Age of Sigmar. If you look at the miniature range, nearly all of the humanoid ones are white? What? Okay, dude, look at this picture. Like, tell me what race this dude is. This is, like, you're kind of ignoring the obvious, man. There is no racial characteristics put on most of these models because, you know, how would you do that without being racist? Like, what would a black face look like? What would an Asian, like, how would you sculpt an Asian face without being, like, pretty overtly fucking racist, man? And I like how, like, later on in the article, the guy's like, people said you could paint your models whatever color you want. Yeah, because they make the faces generic for a reason, so that you can do that. Newsflash for you, Geek Dad. 40K is highly customizable. People invent their own Space Marine chapters, their own Imperial Guard worlds, and they write their own fluff, because the one of the major appeals to 40K is that you make the army your own, unlike video games where you're playing basically off templates. I mean, yeah, they have armies that, you know, are kind of pre-built with their own fluff and everything like that, but speaking from experiences, you can go through my old 40K videos. You'll see that I had an all black army, and I had an army based on kind of like a South American thing, where I painted my Catachans darker skin tone. You could totally do that, so I don't understand why this is even bothering you. Alright guys, I'm not gonna go through the whole article. You could kind of tell, like, this guy has to dig pretty deep to make this into some sort of issue when it's not. The last thing I wanted to say to anyone who ever comes up with an argument like this is, I'd like to go in the Wayback Machine. Back when I played 40K, there were a bunch of different Imperial Guard sculpts from different, like, homeworlds, right? You had Talarn, which were basically Middle Easterners, and then you had these Rough Riders, I forgot the name off the top of my head, were basically Mongolian. And the reason when they switched to plastic, I mean, they had to get rid of all of those lines because, you know, imagine trying to come up with, you know, if you had, let's say you had Asian guy with plasma gun, you'd have to have Asian guy with las gun, Asian guy with grenade launcher. It's like, it's pretty costly for them to do that. You know, Games Workshop, they're not doing this because they're fucking Nazis, man. They're doing this, they chose the Cadians as your basic Imperial Guard because they look like generic sci-fi guys, and you can kind of customize them pretty easily and paint them whatever you want and come up with your own background. I think this is just one of those cases where, you know, you feel pretty guilty because you're white, and on top of that you're British, and you just want to prove to the world how not racist you are, and you're going to call out this obvious racism by GW. It's, yeah, dude, just relax, okay? I believe you. You're not racist. I'm a person of color, so I can speak according to SJW logic, I could speak for all people of color. Yeah, okay. I, heretic of you, have deemed that you are not racist. Now go on and play your shitty 40K game. Out!